Medieval Europe saw the rise of trade, urbanization, and early banking systems in cities like Venice and Genoa. The growth of financial institutions, credit systems, and stock markets laid the foundation for capitalist investments. Then, with the coming of the Restoration Age, Europe also saw the growth of technological advancement, science, navigation technologies, industrialization, and global trade, which only expanded further as Enlightenment took place in Europe. Along with all these factors, mercantilism, which focused on accumulating wealth through trade surpluses and colonial exploitation from the 16th to the 18th century, also created the economic conditions for capitalism's emergence. The enclosure movement in England, the privatization of common lands, forced peasants into wage labor, creating a capitalist labor market, which was focused on growing cotton and producing textiles for export, backing up the Industrial Revolution running from the 18th to the 19th century. The factory systems of the Industrial Revolution from 18th to 19th century transformed production, leading to the rapid growth of capitalist economies. Now that we know what led to the growth of capitalism, we ought to know what exactly is capitalism. In simple words, capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. The seeds of capitalism were planted from medieval Europe itself, but complete capitalism originated in a transition from feudalism to this market-based economy that we have today. Classical liberalism emerged in the 17th century and developed all the way till the 19th and 20th centuries after its origin, particularly after the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. It was the dominant ideology that supported capitalism because it believed in free markets, limited government, and the protection of individual rights. During the 17th and 18th century, Europe saw the emergence of agrarian capitalism and commercial capitalism, fueled by colonial trade and global markets. It also saw the expansion of joint stock companies like the British East India Company. Adam Smith provided the ideological foundations of this stage of capitalism when he wrote his key work, The Wealth of Nations, in 1776. He is often considered as the father of modern economics. His theory advocated for laissez-faire capitalism. Laissez-faire capitalism, or free competition, advocates for minimal state intervention, allowing individuals to act according to their interests and free will. In a competitive market, producers strive to offer better goods and services at lower prices to attract customers. This competition leads to innovation and efficiency, benefiting customers and the economy at large. Specialization and division of labor would increase productivity and efficiency. He also gave the theory of the invisible hand, the notion that individuals pursuing their own self-interest in a competitive market would lead to beneficial outcomes for society as a whole. For example, a business owner seeking profits creates jobs, provides goods, and contributes to economic growth. His work laid the foundation for classical economics and the idea that market forces of supply and demand should operate with minimal government interference. Then in the 19th century, industrial capitalism emerged, which saw mass production and mechanization in industries, urbanization and the rise of factory labor systems, and expansion of global markets and free trade. Two major writers wrote during this period. David Ricardo wrote his famous work on the principles of political economy and taxation, where he refined Adam Smith's principles and argued that countries should specialize in producing goods for which they have a comparative advantage, enabling more efficient global trade. He also believed that it would increase global wealth and economic interdependence. He gave the labor theory of value, where he believed that the value of a good is determined by the amount of labor required to produce it, laying the groundwork for later critiques of capitalism. Another important writer during this period was John Stuart Mill, who wrote the principles of political economy that led to the development of liberal capitalism. Liberal capitalism was a part of classical liberalism, which argued for benefits of individual liberty and free markets. but also recognized the needs for some level of government intervention to ensure social welfare. Mill's work helped bridge the classical economics with later economic ideas, advocating for a balance between freedom and state responsibility. Then came the 20th century, which saw monopoly capitalism, with concentration of industries in large corporations. Financial capitalism, which emphasized in financial markets, investments, and speculative trading. And globalization, with the integration of economies worldwide, powered by free trade agreements and multinational corporations. This is when, in response to the social and economic changes brought by the Industrial Revolution and classical liberalism, liberalism began to evolve into social liberalism. Thinkers like John Maynard Keynes and T.H. Green advocated for a more active role of government in addressing social inequalities and ensuring welfare, education, and healthcare. This marked a shift from classical liberalism's focus on limited government to a more interventionist stance. Against this rose the thinker Friedrich Hayek, whose key work, The Road to Serfdom, talked about how government control over the economy leads to totalitarianism, and that individual freedom is best preserved by a system of free markets and minimal government intervention. Parallel to him rose Max Weber, a sociologist who explored the cultural and religious foundations of capitalism. His work, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, argued that the Protestant work ethic, particularly emphasis on hard work and individual responsibility, played a key role in the rise of capitalism in the Western world. He suggested that capitalism was not only an economic system, but a cultural phenomena, deeply connected to religious and social values. Today, liberalism has seen further development, especially with the rise of welfare states and Western democracies. If you'd like to know more about the origins of liberalism, have a look at this lecture. If you'd like to know about the movement that rose against capitalism, have a look at this lecture.